Good evening. Our exclusive News Channel 5 investigation into the death of a man in the Marshall County Jail is making news across the country.
The Washington Post is now among the outlets who have picked up the story about William Jeanette. He reportedly told deputies who had him pinned down that he could not breathe, but they taunted him.
Investigative reporter Ben Hall broke the story and is raising new questions tonight.
Jeanette was apparently detoxing and clearly not in a good mental state. His death sheds light on how ill-equipped many counties are to deal with these situations. This video from inside the Marshall County Jail shows how quickly things escalated. When deputies open Jeanette's cell door, he appears to say a few words, and then the struggle begins. You see other deputies bring a restraint chair over, but Jeanette refused to get in. He would die a few minutes later.
You don't expect that you're going to lose your life in a local jail.
Legal analyst Nick Leonardo says what happened in Marshall County highlights a crisis in Tennessee.
These smaller counties do not have the funds that they need to properly incarcerate individuals that have mental health issues or are detoxing or have severe substance abuse problems.
Jail logs show Jeanette had been hallucinating and detoxing after being arrested 2 days earlier for resisting arrest, public intoxication, and indecent exposure. Officers had put him in a restraint chair the day before because he was hitting his head on the cell wall. When he refused and began struggling, jailers called for backup from Lewisburg police.
Give me your arm!
They handcuffed Jeanette, who continued to struggle, then put leg restraints on him. But they kept him on his stomach for nearly 4 minutes, even as he said he could not breathe. Experts say officers have been trained since the mid-1990s about the dangers of suffocation by keeping someone on their stomach in what's called the prone position.
That's just something that really sticks with me, of how scared he must have been and how alone he must have felt.
Jeanette's daughters were most shocked by some of the things officers said as they held him down. After the struggle, they mocked him as he begged for breath and said this after his last words, which were, "I'm good."
Oh, you ain't good. You gonna lay right there for a minute.
It's extremely disturbing to see something like that.
Leonardo says as part of prison reform, the state needs to invest in training and better facilities for local jails. It's so bad in Clay County that female inmates have been chained to a chair and given a cot to sleep on in the hallway. The sheriff told us in 2019 the small jail has been overrun with drug-addicted arrestees. He understands people are upset, but says there has not been money for new facilities.
I don't hold it against anyone that feels ill will towards me or the county.
They should have been more aware. They should have been trained properly, and they weren't.
Jeanette's family says officers weren't properly trained. Leonardo says this sad case shows how quickly things can get out of control, and a father of 5 can lose his life.
It just breaks my heart because he was someone worth knowing.
A grand jury heard this case but did not indict any of the officers involved. Nick Leonardo says it's possible there could be federal charges in a case like this, or it could go back before the grand jury. But at this point, no criminal charges. Ben Hall, News Channel 5, investigates.
Thanks, Ben.